people around the world are watching.
We are peaceful.
We just want fairness and a better future.
Stay calm, everyone.
The first loud bang sounded like fireworks, but nobody was celebrating. Before I continue, tell me where you're watching from. And if you love powerful true life stories like this, please subscribe and stay with me till the end. On October 20, 2020, Lagos was not normal. The city was tense. At the Lekki toll gate, thousands of young Nigerians sat peacefully on the ground. They waved Nigerian flags. They sang the national anthem. They held up their phones with flashlights on. From far away, it looked like stars had fallen from the sky. This moment did not begin that night. It began weeks earlier. Young people were frustrated. For years, many had complained about a police unit called SARS, which means Special Anti-Robbery Squad. It was created to stop crime. But over time, many people accused some officers of using too much force and treating young citizens unfairly. Stories spread quickly online. Videos of tense encounters with officers were shared on Twitter and Instagram. Many young Nigerians said they were stopped because of how they dressed, the phones they carried, or the cars they drove. Trust between the youth and the police became weak. A hashtag began to trend, #NSARS. In Lagos, a 22-year-old university student named Tolu joined the protest on the third day. Tolu studied computer science. He loved music and football. He was not the type to join protests. But years earlier, his older brother had a bad experience with officers, and the memory stayed in their family. Tolu felt this was the time to speak up. He told his mother he was visiting a friend so she would not worry. He carried a small backpack with water and biscuits. When he reached Lekki toll gate, he saw something surprising. Christians and Muslims prayed side by side. Volunteers shared food and water. Lawyers offered free advice. Medical workers set up small tents to help anyone who felt weak or stressed. It did not feel violent. It felt organized. It felt peaceful. Close to Tolu stood a 24-year-old woman named Amara. She wore a black t-shirt with the words Sorrow Soak, which means speak up. She had been live streaming the protest every day. Thousands watched her videos. She believed that if the world could see what was happening, everyone would stay safe. Nearby was Femi, a 28-year-old ride-hailing driver. He had seen many arguments between officers and young drivers on the streets. He was not interested in politics. He simply wanted fairness and respect. For several days, the protest at Lekki remained calm. Protesters cleaned up after themselves. They removed trash. Musicians performed. People held signs asking for reform and accountability. It almost felt like a community gathering, but the reason was serious. On October 11, the government announced that SARS had been dissolved. Many celebrated the news, but some protesters said they wanted to see real changes, not just announcements, so they continued to gather peacefully. By October 20, tension increased. Rumors spread that security forces might arrive to clear the area. That afternoon, something strange happened. The CCTV cameras at the toll gate were taken down. Later, the streetlights went off. The area became darker than usual. Amara noticed first. She told her viewers that the lights were out and something felt unusual. Around evening, people were still seated on the ground. They raised their flags. Some knelt. They sang the national anthem again. Tolu's voice shook slightly as he sang. Femi stood behind him. Many protesters lifted their hands to show they were peaceful. Then military trucks arrived. Soldiers stepped out. At first, the crowd believed they would simply observe or ask everyone to leave. But within minutes, loud sounds filled the air. Panic spread quickly. People began to run in different directions. Some stumbled. Others tried to help those who fell. The sound echoed around the toll gate. Because the streetlights were off, the only light came from phone screens. Amara continued recording. Her voice trembled as she described what was happening. Thousands of people were watching her live video in real time. That night became one of the most talked about events in Nigeria's recent history. Different reports later gave different versions of what happened. Some officials said security forces acted within the law. Many protesters and witnesses said excessive force was used. Videos and personal accounts spread around the world. Tolu and Femi managed to leave the area through a side road. They ran until they reached a safer street. Neither spoke. Their hearts were racing. Across Lagos, families stayed awake. Social media was full of posts, prayers, and questions. Nigerians in London, New York, Accra, and Johannesburg shared the videos and demanded answers. International voices began to pay attention. When Tolu finally reached home late at night, his clothes were dusty and stained from the ground. His mother hugged him tightly. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the loud sounds again. Amara stayed in a friend's apartment. Her phone battery eventually died. She stared at the ceiling, still shaking. She knew her video had spread everywhere. She did not know what would happen next. Femi sat inside his parked car until early morning. He kept thinking about the people he saw fall during the chaos. He wondered if they were safe. The protest that began with songs and hope had changed direction. The country felt different. Conversations became louder. Questions became harder. And this was only the beginning. By morning, Nigeria was no longer the same. News of what happened at the Lekki toll gate had spread everywhere. Phones were buzzing nonstop. Videos were shared across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Some clips showed confusion. Some showed people singing before the chaos began. Others showed people running in the dark. Across Lagos, streets that were usually busy became quiet. Shops did not open on time. Parents called their children again and again to make sure they were safe. Churches and mosques prayed for the country. Tolu woke up tired. He had barely slept. His phone had over 200 notifications. Friends were asking if he was alive. Some were angry. Some were afraid. Some said they wanted to go back out and protest again. His mother stood at his bedroom door. She did not shout. She did not ask questions. She just said, "Stay home today." Her voice was soft but firm. Tolu nodded. For the first time, he wondered if things could get worse. Across town, Amara's live video had gone viral. International news pages were reposting it. Influencers were tagging global organizations. People were calling for investigations. But something else began to happen. Amara started receiving strange messages. Some people praised her for being brave. Others warned her to be careful. A few messages told her to delete the video. Her hands shook as she read them. She did not expect this level of attention. She had only wanted to show the world what she saw. Meanwhile, Femi drove his car slowly through Victoria Island. Burned tires and broken barriers were visible on some roads. Angry youths had come out during the night in different parts of Lagos. Some government buildings were damaged, not by the peaceful protesters at Lekki, but by others who felt deep anger. The line between peaceful protest and chaos was becoming blurry. By afternoon, the government released statements. Officials said there would be investigations. They asked citizens to remain calm. They said security forces were responding to threats. Many Nigerians were not satisfied. They wanted clear answers. They wanted transparency. They wanted accountability. On social media, celebrities spoke out. Musicians, actors, and athletes used their platforms to demand justice. Hashtags began trending worldwide. Protests were organized in London, Toronto, and Atlanta. Nigerians in the diaspora gathered with flags and signs. Tolu sat on his bed scrolling through updates. He saw videos from Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Benin City. Some protests were still peaceful. Others had turned tense after clashes with security forces. Then he saw something that made his heart beat fast. A photo. It showed a young boy sitting on the ground at Lekki, holding his leg. Tolu recognized him. It was the same boy who had fallen near him during the panic. The caption said the boy had been taken to a private hospital and was stable. Tolu exhaled deeply. For the first time since the night before, he felt a small wave of relief. Amara made a decision that afternoon. She posted another video. This time, she did not shout. She did not accuse. She spoke calmly. She said she wanted peace. She said she wanted the truth. She said young Nigerians deserve to feel safe in their own country. Her video reached even more people, but so did the pressure. A few hours later, her bank account was suddenly frozen. She found out when she tried to transfer money to her younger sister for school fees. An alert appeared on her screen. Transaction declined. She stared at the message in shock. She had not broken any law. She had not damaged any property. She had only recorded what she saw. Femi received a different kind of shock. That evening, 2 officers stopped his car at a checkpoint. They asked where he was going. They checked his phone. They scrolled through his social media. He remained calm. He did not argue. After a long few minutes, they let him go. But his hands were sweating on the steering wheel. Fear was slowly replacing courage. By the 3rd day after the incident, a judicial panel of inquiry was announced in Lagos State. The goal was to investigate complaints of police misconduct and review the events of October 20. Some people felt hopeful. Others felt it was just another promise. Tolu decided he would testify if given the chance. He did not want to remain silent. His voice was shaking when he told his mother. She looked at him carefully. "Be wise," she said. The panel began sittings weeks later. Victims and witnesses shared emotional stories. Some described past encounters with SARs. Some described losing loved ones over the years. Lawyers presented videos and medical reports. Amara was invited to submit her footage. She agreed. Walking into the hearing room, she felt both proud and afraid. Cameras from news stations pointed at her. She kept her head up. Femi watched the hearings online whenever he had a break between rides. He noticed something important. For the first time in a long time, young Nigerians were paying attention to civic matters. They were learning how systems worked. They were asking smart questions. The movement had changed shape. It was no longer just about one police unit. It was about governance, about leadership, about the future. Months passed. The anger cooled, but the memory did not fade. Murals were painted on walls across Lagos with the Nigerian flag and the date, 20.1020. Candlelight gatherings were held quietly in homes and churches. Songs were written. Documentaries were filmed. Tolu returned to school, but he was different. He joined a student civic group. He began teaching younger students about their rights and responsibilities. Amara started a small online platform focused on youth voices and social issues. She was more careful now, but she was not silent. Femi saved enough money to start night classes in public administration. He said if he wanted change, he needed to understand how change worked. The night at Lekki had shaken them, but it had also woken something up. Still, one question remained in the air like unfinished business. Would the truth ever be fully known? And what would Nigeria choose next, fear or a better future? 1 year later, the date still felt heavy. October 20 came again, but this time there were no large crowds at the Lekki toll gate. There were no big stages, no loudspeakers, no thousands sitting on the ground. The space looked normal on the outside. Cars passed. People paid their tolls. Life moved. But inside many hearts, nothing was normal. Tolu stood in his small room that morning, staring at the Nigerian flag folded neatly on his desk. He had kept it since that night. It was slightly dusty, but he refused to wash it. To him, it was not just fabric. It was memory. He was now 23. School felt different. Conversations among students had changed. Before, most of them only talked about exams, parties, and jobs abroad. Now they talked about voting. They talked about leadership. They talked about policies. The protest had ended on the streets, but it had continued in minds. Amara had also changed. Her online platform had grown. What started as simple live videos had become a small media page focused on youth issues, civic education, and peaceful engagement. She no longer streamed carelessly. She planned carefully. She verified information before posting. She understood the weight of influence. The pressure she faced months earlier had taught her something important. Visibility comes with responsibility. Femi had completed his first year of night classes. Driving during the day and studying at night was not easy, but he refused to quit. He wanted to understand the system from the inside. He believed change did not only happen through shouting, it also happened through knowledge. As the anniversary approached, social media began to heat up again. Old videos resurfaced. Photos were reposted. Some people called for memorial gatherings. Others warned against it. The Lagos State Judicial Panel had submitted its report months earlier. The findings sparked debate across the country. Some accepted it. Some rejected parts of it. Discussions filled radio stations and TV programs. But beyond politics and reports, something deeper remained. Trust. Trust had been broken, and rebuilding trust is slow. On the evening of the anniversary, Tolu decided to go out. Not to protest, not to shout. Just to stand quietly near Lekki with a few friends. They agreed there would be no drama, no confrontation, just reflection. When they arrived, security presence was visible but calm. A few small groups of young people stood at different corners holding candles. No loud chants, no pushing, just silence. Tolu held his candle tightly. He remembered the loud sounds from the year before. He remembered running. He remembered the fear in his chest. But he also remembered the unity, the way strangers had shared food, the way different religions prayed together, the way young Nigerians organized medical help and legal aid within days. That unity had been real. Across the road, Amara stood with a small camera crew for her platform. She was not live streaming recklessly like before. She was recording a documentary, calm interviews, soft voices, honest reflections. She interviewed a young nurse who had volunteered during the protests. She interviewed a lawyer who had represented victims at the panel. She interviewed a student who said the movement pushed him to register to vote for the first time. No shouting, no blame, just stories. Femi parked his car a few streets away and walked quietly to the toll gate. He did not hold a sign. He did not chant. He simply stood beside others. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Cars continued to move behind them. Lagos traffic did not stop for memories. Then something simple happened. A small boy, maybe 8 years old, looked up at his older sister and asked, "Why are people holding candles?" The sister bent down and answered softly, "Because they want a better country." That sentence stayed in the air. Not revenge, not chaos, a better country. As night fell, the candle lights reflected on faces that looked older than their age. Nigeria's youth had seen something that changed them. They had learned that speaking up has a cost. They had learned that silence also has a cost. Tolu felt his phone vibrate. A message from his mother. "Are you safe?" He typed back, "Yes." That word meant more now. Safe was not just about being unharmed. It was about feeling protected by the system meant to serve you. And that feeling was still fragile. Amara wrapped up her recording. She ended with a simple message to her viewers. The future belongs to those who stay engaged. She did not promise miracles. She did not say everything was fixed. She simply said change takes time and participation. Femi looked around one last time before leaving. He realized something important. The protest did not fail. It forced conversations that had been avoided for years. It made young Nigerians aware of their power. It made leaders realize the world was watching. Change in a nation is not a straight line. It moves forward, backward, then forward again. As the candles slowly burned out, people began to leave quietly. No chaos, no running, just footsteps fading into the Lagos night. Tolu folded his flag again when he got home. This time, he placed it back on his desk with new meaning. He had registered to vote. He had joined policy discussions in school. He had chosen to stay involved. Amara uploaded her documentary weeks later. It was calm, balanced, and thoughtful. It reached thousands, not because it was loud, but because it was honest. Femi passed another exam. He smiled when he saw his result. He believed he could one day work within public service and help shape policies from the inside. The night of October 20, 2020 would always be remembered, not just for the fear, not just for the confusion, but for the awakening. Nigeria's story did not end at Lekki. It continued in classrooms, in voting centers, in conversations at dinner tables, in young people deciding they would not ignore civic matters again. The candles burned out that night, but the desire for a better nation did not. And that is what remains. May the souls of all those departed rest well. Subscribe for more interesting videos like this.